stared at the old screen in the Coalition archives, his eyes tired from reading for hours. The dim blue light made everything look strange and ancient. He was looking for something that most people said did not exist. Humans. The word itself sounded like a ghost story. The archives were deep underground on Velar Prime, the capital world of the Galactic Coalition. Dust covered most of the old data crystals. Nobody came here anymore. Why would they? The important stuff was all digital now, floating in the cloud networks above the city, but had found something weird in his regular intelligence work. A gap, a hole in galactic history that nobody talked about. 300 years ago something happened. An entire species just vanished. The records called them humans, but most of his teachers said they were just stories. Myths to scare young officers into being brave. Tales about creatures who came from a world so dangerous that it should have killed them. Instead, it made them strong. Too strong. "You are still down here," a voice called out. Turned to see walking toward him through the rows of old storage units. She was a diplomat and a historian. She loved this old stuff more than anyone he knew. Her face showed excitement as she carried a data pad. "I found something," said. He pointed at his screen. "Look at this entry. It talks about a contact event at the outer fringe. The file says the species was human, but then the next entry is blank, like someone erased it." Leaned closer. Her eyes went wide. "That is from the expansion period, the beginning of their empire." The frowned. The Dominion was powerful, controlling a huge part of the galaxy. They were not friendly, but they followed the rules. Mostly. What do they have to do with humans? "Everything," said quietly. She sat down next to him. "I have been researching this for 2 years. I think humans were real. I think they tried to warn the galaxy about and I think the Council ignored them." Felt cold. That does not make sense. Why would the Council ignore a warning? Because humans scared them more than they did. Pulled up a file on her data pad. Images appeared. Strange creatures with 2 arms and 2 legs standing upright. Their faces were flat, their eyes forward-facing like predators. The text beside the images made stomach turn. Homeworld gravity, 1.2 times standard. Atmosphere, 21% oxygen. Classification, death world. Species survival rate on human worlds for other species, less than 4%. "That cannot be real," whispered. "There is more," said. She scrolled through the file. Humans had no natural weapons. No claws, no venom, no armor, but they had something else. Endurance. They could run for days without stopping. They could heal from injuries that would kill most species. And they had something the file calls persistence hunting. They would chase prey until it died from exhaustion. Shook his head. "You are talking about monsters." "No," said firmly. "I am talking about survivors. Their world tried to kill them every day. Diseases, predators, weather, everything. So they adapted. They became the toughest species in the galaxy, and when they reached the stars, they tried to help others." "Then where are they now?" His face became serious. "That is what we need to find out." The alarm on his communicator started beeping. Red lights flashed across the archive ceiling. He grabbed the device and read the message. His blood went cold. "Emergency Council meeting. All intelligence officers report immediately." They ran through the archives and took the elevator up to the surface. The city above was in chaos. Ships filled the sky, all heading in the same direction. Military vessels. The council building stood tall in the center, its white walls now showing red emergency signals. Inside the council chamber, hundreds of representatives from different species gathered. Ambassador, a tall with silver skin, stood at the center platform. His voice boomed through the room. "The Dominion has begun a full military offensive in the outer fringe. They have attacked 6 neutral colonies in the past hour. Our defense fleet is mobilizing, but early reports are bad. We are outnumbered 10-1. Panic spread through the chamber. Representatives shouted questions. How could this happen? Why now? What would they do? Looked at, she was pale. They are finally making their move, she whispered, after 300 years. What do you mean? Asked. They have been planning this, building their forces, waiting for the right moment. Humans knew. They tried to warn everyone, but nobody listened. Ambassador raised his hand for silence. We will fight with everything we have. Every world, every ship, every soldier. We will not surrender to the noble words, but could see the fear in the ambassador's eyes. This was not a battle they could win, not alone. After the meeting ended, Grab's arm. Come with me now. She led him back to the archives, moving fast through the empty halls. She went to a locked section he had never seen before, used her diplomatic codes to open the door. Inside was a single data crystal, glowing faintly. I found this last week, she said. It is a star chart, hidden in the oldest files. Look at the coordinates. Took the crystal and loaded it. A map appeared showing a section of space marked as quarantined. At the center was a yellow star, and orbiting that star was a blue and green planet. Sol system, said, Earth, the human home world. The quarantine has been in place for 300 years, said. Nobody goes there. It is forbidden. Maybe that is exactly why we should go, replied. If humans were real, if they prepared for this, maybe they are still there, waiting. You want to go to a quarantine system during a war to look for a mythical species. Could not believe what he was hearing. I want to go find the only species that ever scared the, said. Her eyes were determined. We need help, real help, and I think humans are our only chance. Looked at the star chart again. The blue planet seemed to glow. Everything in his training said this was crazy, but everything in his gut said was right. How do we get there? He asked. Smiled. I have a ship. Small, fast, and equipped with old diplomatic codes that might get us through the quarantine. We leave tonight. This is against every regulation. I know. We could be court-martialed. I know. We might die. Better than waiting here for them to kill us anyway. Made his choice. Let us go find out if humans are real. As they prepared to leave, looked one more time at the old files about humans. One phrase stood out. A human saying that someone had recorded long ago. We are not strong because we do not fall. We are strong because we get back up every time we do. He hoped they would find that strength waiting for them in the Sol system. The galaxy would need it. The journey to the Sol system took 6 days. Ship was small but fast, slipping through space lanes that bigger vessels could not use. Spent most of the time reading everything he could find about humans. The more he read, the less he believed any of it was real. Listen to this, he said to on the 4th day. It says humans used to compete in something called marathons. They would run for over 40 kilometers for fun. Laughed from the pilot's seat. That is nothing. I read they used to climb mountains that had so little oxygen, other species would die in minutes. They did it without breathing equipment. No species is that crazy, said. Maybe that is why they survived, replied. On the 6th day, they reached the edge of the quarantine zone. A wall of satellites surrounded the Sol system, all showing red warning signals. Slowed the ship. Here we go, she said. She transmitted her old diplomatic codes. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then every alarm in the ship started screaming. Screen filled with warnings. They were being scanned by weapons he did not recognize. Energy signatures that should not exist. His voice shook. I see it, multiple contacts. They are all around us. I cannot track them all. 3 ships appeared from nowhere. They were dark, sleek, and covered in angles that made them hard to look at. Stealth technology beyond anything the Coalition had. The lead ship was bigger, shaped like a blade cutting through space. A voice came through their communication system. It was strong, clear, and speaking the old Coalition language perfectly. Unidentified vessel, you have entered restricted space. Cut your engines and prepare to be boarded. Any hostile action will result in immediate destruction. And looked at each other, pressed the communication button. This is diplomatic vessel Hope's Light from the Galactic Coalition. We come in peace. We are looking for humanity. Silence. Then the voice came back, different this time, surprised. Stand by. The three ships moved closer. Could see weapons on their hulls. Energy weapons, missile ports, and things he could not identify. If these ships wanted to destroy them, they would be vapor in seconds. A new face appeared on their screen. A human face, almost fell from his chair. The human was male with short dark hair and sharp eyes. He wore a uniform that looked military. Behind him could see other humans moving around a ship's bridge. They were real. They existed. I am Captain Wu of the human defense frigate Indomitable, the man said. His face showed no emotion. You have entered human space without permission. Explain why we should not send you back to the coalition in pieces. Found her voice first. Captain, the galaxy is under attack. The Dominion has begun a full offensive. We need help. We came to ask if the legends about humanity were true. Captain Wu's expression did not change. Legends. Is that what we are now? Interesting. 300 years ago, we tried to warn the coalition about we showed them evidence of the coming invasion. The council called us paranoid warmongers and told us to leave. Now you want our help. Spoke up. That was 300 years ago. We were not even born. Please, innocent people are dying. Something flickered in Captain Wu's eyes. Follow my ship. Any deviation from our course and we will fire. Understood. Understood, said. The human ships led them deeper into the Sol system. As they got closer to the inner planets, saw more ships, hundreds of them, then thousands. Battle stations orbited every planet and moon. Weapons platforms filled the asteroid belt. This was not a quarantined system. This was a fortress. How many ships do they have? Whispered. Checked her sensors. Her face went pale. I cannot count them all. They are everywhere. They approached the third planet from the sun. Earth. It was beautiful. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown land masses. But surrounding it was a defense grid that made his head hurt. Shields, weapons, satellites, and more ships than he could count. Captain Wu's ship led them to a massive station orbiting the planet. They docked, and soldiers met them at the airlock. Human soldiers. They were tall, strong, and moved with a grace that seemed wrong for creatures from a heavy gravity world. A woman stepped forward. She was shorter than the others, but her uniform showed high rank. I am Major Special Forces. Follow me. They walked through corridors filled with humans. Could not stop staring. They all looked so normal. 2 arms, 2 legs like many other species. But the way they moved, the way they watched everything, reminded him of the predators he had seen in zoos. Major led them to a large room with windows overlooking Earth. Inside, more humans waited. One stepped forward, older than the others, with gray in his hair. I am Chief Engineer of the Earth Defense Fleet, he said. We heard your message. They are finally moving. Yes, said. They attacked 6 colonies. Our fleet is outnumbered badly. Nodded slowly. We knew this day would come. We have been preparing for 300 years. Preparing, asked, for what? For war, said simply. He gestured to the windows. When the coalition dismissed our warnings, we made a choice. We would isolate ourselves and build the tools we needed to fight when they finally showed their true nature. 300 years of preparation, breathed. What have you built? Smiled. It was not a kind smile. Everything we needed. Better ships, better weapons, better soldiers. We trained for every scenario. We ran simulations 1,000,000 times. We pushed ourselves harder than any species has ever been pushed. Major spoke up. Would you like to see what 300 years of preparation looks like? They were taken to a training facility deep inside the station. What saw there made his blood run cold. Humans were training in conditions that would kill him in minutes. Some were fighting in rooms with 3 times normal gravity. Others were running through chambers filled with toxic gas, wearing only breath masks. A group was practicing hand-to-hand combat that looked more like a battle to the death. "We do this every day," Major explained. "Our bodies can adapt to almost anything. High gravity, low gravity, poison atmospheres, radiation. We use it. We train in conditions that make real combat seem easy." Watched a young woman flip a male soldier twice her size. The man crashed into a wall hard enough to crack the metal. He got up and smiled. "You are all insane," said quietly. Major laughed. "Maybe, but we are alive and we are ready." They returned to the briefing room. Captain Wu was there now, along with dozens of other humans. One woman stood at the center. She was young but spoke with authority. "I am representative of the Human Assembly," she said. "We have been debating your request for hours. Many of our people say we should ignore the coalition. You ignored us when we needed you. Why should we help now?" Felt his hope dying, but then continued. "However, I argued that we are not like the. We do not punish the innocent for the mistakes of the past. Humanity became strong not just to survive, but to protect those who cannot protect themselves. If we have this strength and do not use it to help others, then what is the point?" She looked at and, "The Human Assembly has voted. We will deploy our fleet to aid the coalition." Could not believe what he was hearing. "How many ships can you send?" Captain Wu stepped forward. "All of them." A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed the entire Sol system. Lights began appearing. Each light was a ship. Hundreds, then thousands, then more. 12,000 warships, Captain Wu said. 300 years of construction. We have been building and training for this war. Now it is time to remind the galaxy what humans can do. Had tears in her eyes. "Why, after everything that happened, why help us?" Answered, "Because it is the right thing to do. And because humans have a saying, we do not fight for those who deserve it. We fight for those who need it." The fleet began to move. Thousands of human ships leaving orbit, forming into battle groups. Watched them go, still not quite believing this was real. Major stood beside him. "You look surprised." "I am," admitted. "Humans were supposed to be myths, stories, and now you will see what humans are really like," she said. "We are not myths. We are not legends. We are what happens when a species refuses to give up, no matter how hard the universe tries to kill it." Captain Wu's voice came over the station speakers. "All ships, this is Fleet Command. Set course for Terminus Station. The wanted a war. Let us give them one they will never forget. Humanity is coming." Looked at, "What have we done?" She smiled. "Maybe saved the galaxy, or maybe just proven that the scariest stories are the true ones." Terminus Station floated in the darkness, surrounded by death. The coalition fleet had fought for 3 days straight and they were losing. Badly. Admiral stood on the bridge of his flagship watching his fleet die. 50,000 warships filled the space around the station. His own fleet was down to 4,000 ships. Half of those were damaged. The math was simple and cruel. They had maybe 6 hours before complete defeat. "Admiral, they are demanding our surrender again," his communication officer said. "Tell them what I told them before," Admiral replied. "No." He was proud and stubborn. His people did not surrender, even when they should, even when continuing to fight meant certain death. At least the civilian transports had escaped. 20 million souls saved. That would have to be enough. The ships moved closer. They were huge, dark things covered in weapons. They did not hurry. Why would they? They had already won. Now they were just finishing the job. "All ships, this is Admiral," he said into the fleet channel. "It has been an honor serving with you. When the end comes, make it count. For the coalition, for our families, for everyone who trusted us to protect them." The responses came back. Hundreds of voices, all different species, all saying the same thing. They would fight to the last breath. Then something strange happened. "Admiral," the sensor officer shouted, "I am detecting. I do not know what I am detecting. Multiple energy signatures appearing at the system edge, thousands of them." "Reinforcements." Admiral felt his stomach drop, as if 50,000 ships were not enough. "No, sir. These signatures are different. The energy patterns do not match anything in our database." The fleet was reacting too. Their formation shifted, weapons turning toward the new contacts. Whoever was coming, they did not like it. The communication channel opened with a burst of static. A new voice came through. Male, strong, speaking with complete confidence. "This is Admiral of the Human Defense Fleet. Terminus Station, we have received your distress call. Hold your position. Relief has arrived." Silence filled Admiral's bridge. Humans were myths, stories, they did not exist. Then they appeared. 12,000 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. They were beautiful and terrifying. Sleek hulls covered in weapons, moving with a precision that seemed impossible. And they were fast. So fast. Admiral's voice came through again, but this time he was talking to the Dominion vessels. "You are targeting our allies. You will stand down immediately or be eliminated." The response came from Overlord, their supreme commander. His voice was filled with amusement. "Humans, the old myths come to life. How entertaining. Your 12,000 ships are no match for our 50,000. Surrender now and we will make your deaths quick." "Your offer is rejected," Admiral said. His tone did not change at all, like he was discussing the weather. "You have 10 seconds to withdraw. After that, we will consider you hostile targets." Overlord laughed. "You are either very brave or very stupid. I suspect the latter. All ships destroy the human fleet." The formation surged forward. 50,000 warships against 12,000. The outcome seemed obvious. Then the humans showed what they could do. The human fleet did not charge forward like the coalition would have. They did not form a defensive wall. Instead, they split apart. Groups of ships peeled off in every direction, moving at speeds that should have torn them apart. They used the gravity wells of nearby planets like slingshots, gaining momentum while turning at angles that should have been impossible. "They are insane," Admiral's tactical officer whispered. "Those maneuvers should kill their crews, the G-forces alone." But the human ships kept moving, kept accelerating, kept doing things that broke every rule of space combat. They dove into debris fields that would shred normal hulls. They flew through radiation storms that would cook normal crews. And they fired. The weapons were beyond anything Admiral had seen. Energy beams that punched through shields like paper. Missiles that split into dozens of warheads, each one finding a target. And kinetic weapons that hit with the force of small meteors. A group of ships tried to surround a human battle group. The human ships suddenly broke formation, each one going in a different direction. The followed, spreading out. Then the human ships turned as one and fired at the same instant. 20 ships exploded in a single coordinated strike. "How did they do that?" the tactical officer asked. "That level of coordination should require direct communication, but I am not detecting any transmissions." Admiral watched in awe. "They planned it. Every move, every shot, every maneuver, they practiced this, maybe thousands of times." More human fighters appeared. Small, fast craft that moved like angry insects. A pilot with the Reaper led a squadron directly into the thickest part of the formation. They flew through spaces too small for safety, past weapons that should have killed them, and fired with perfect accuracy. "Reaper to all fighters," a woman's voice came through on an open channel. "Remember your training, they are big and slow. We are small and fast. Use it. Make every shot count." The human fighters danced through the fleet like they were putting on a show. One moment they were here, the next they were gone, and ships were exploding behind them. They tried to adapt. They changed formation, focused fire, tried to trap the human ships. Nothing worked. Every move they made, the humans had already planned for. Every trap they set, the humans saw through. A massive battleship, twice the size of anything in the Coalition fleet, targeted a human cruiser. It fired everything it had. The human ship should have been destroyed. Instead, it spun sideways, fired its own engines, and slid past the incoming fire. The battleship's shots hit 3 other ships instead. Then the human cruiser fired back. One shot, perfectly placed. The battleship's reactor went critical and exploded. "Admiral to Terminus Station," the human commander's voice came through. "We are making our attack run on the command vessel. Recommend your ships provide covering fire on our left flank." Admiral found his voice. "All Coalition ships, you heard the man. Let us show these humans we can still fight. Target the left flank. Fire everything." The Coalition fleet, battered and nearly broken, fired one more time. Their weapons were weaker than the humans, their ships slower, but they fought with desperate courage. The left flank wavered under the assault. The human fleet punched through the gap like a spear. Admiral's flagship led the charge, heading straight for Overlord's massive command ship. Vessels tried to block them. Human ships destroyed them without slowing down. Major's voice came through on a different channel. "Marine assault teams, we are boarding the command vessel. Remember, these are corridors and rooms, not open space. Close combat is our specialty. Show them what 300 years of practice looks like." Human boarding pods launched from the flagship. They were small, armored things that looked like bullets. They slammed into the command ship with enough force to punch through the hull. Then human soldiers poured out. They were bigger than humans, stronger physically. They had natural armor and claws, but the humans moved like water, flowing around attacks and striking back with weapons and techniques that were devastating. They fought in tight spaces where the bigger could not maneuver. They used the ship's own systems against the defenders. They were relentless. In space, the battle was turning. The fleet that had seemed unstoppable was breaking apart. Some ships tried to run. The humans chased them down. No mercy, no quarter. As Admiral had said, they were hostile targets. Overlord watched his fleet die from his command bridge. Major and her Marines were getting closer. He could hear the fighting in the corridors outside. "Fall back," he ordered. "All ships retreat, retreat now." The fleet began to scatter. 50,000 ships had entered this system. Less than 30,000 escaped. 20,000 destroyed in a battle that lasted only 4 hours. The human fleet did not pursue beyond the system edge. They formed up around Terminus Station, weapons still active, watching for any sign of the returning. Admiral's face appeared on Admiral's screen. He looked calm, not even breathing hard. "Admiral, your station is secure. Medical ships are approaching to help with your wounded. We will maintain a defensive position until Coalition reinforcements arrive." Admiral did not know what to say. Finally, he managed, "You saved us. How can we ever thank you?" Admiral smiled. It was a tired smile. "You already did by asking for help, by fighting even when you knew you could not win. That takes courage." "What are you?" Admiral asked. "We thought humans were myths." "We are survivors," Admiral said, "and we do not abandon our allies, even allies who once abandoned us." On the command vessel, Overlord managed to reach an escape pod. As he fled, he transmitted one final message to the home worlds. "The legends were true. Humans exist. They are everything the old stories said and worse. Send every fleet, send every ship. The humans cannot be allowed to live." The message ended. The pod jumped to faster-than-light speed, carrying away from the battle. On Terminus Station, Admiral looked at the human fleet surrounding his station. 12,000 ships that had just destroyed an enemy 4 times their number. And according to the intelligence report had sent, this was not all of them. This was just the first wave. "What have we awakened?" his tactical officer whispered. Admiral thought about that. 300 years ago, the Coalition had turned away the humans. They had called them paranoid and dangerous. Maybe they were right about the dangerous part, but now that danger was on their side. "We awakened our protectors," Admiral said. "May the universe have mercy on because the humans will not." The war spread across the galaxy like fire. The Dominion sent everything they had, throwing fleet after fleet against the Coalition worlds. But now the Coalition had humanity fighting beside them, and everything changed. Stood in a human war room on Earth, watching holographic maps show battles happening across dozens of star systems. He had asked to learn how humans fought. Now he was getting his wish, and it terrified him. Commander Jin walked up beside him. She was small for a human but had watched her train. She could kill in 100 different ways without any weapons. She pointed at one of the maps. "This is what we call asymmetric warfare," she explained. "They have more ships, more soldiers, more resources, so we do not fight them the way they want to fight." "What do you mean?" asked. "Watch this battle near the system," Jin said. She zoomed in on the map. A fleet of 10,000 ships was approaching a Coalition world. Only 2,000 human ships were there to defend it. The human fleet did not engage directly. Instead, they scattered. Small groups of ships appeared behind the fleet, hitting supply lines. They destroyed fuel depots, communication relays, and repair stations. The fleet kept advancing, but now they had no support. "First, we break their supply chain," Jin said. "A ship without fuel is just a very expensive piece of scrap metal." The fleet reached the planet and prepared to attack. Then human ships appeared from behind moons and asteroids where they had been hiding. They hit from every direction at once. They tried to form a defensive position, but their ships were already running low on fuel and ammunition. "Then we break their formation," Jin continued. "Confused enemies make mistakes we can exploit." The battle lasted 6 hours. The fleet was destroyed. Only 12 human ships were lost. Shook his head. "You planned all of this before the battle even started." 300 years of planning," Jin said with a slight smile. "We studied we know how they think, how they fight, what scares them. We use all of it." Dr. Myra entered the war room carrying data pads. She was who had spent her entire life studying alien species, especially "I have the updated psychological profile on commanders," she said, handing reports to Jin. "They are getting more aggressive. Overlord is pushing them hard. He does not want to look weak after losing at Terminus Station." "Good," Jin said. "Aggressive enemies make more mistakes. What about their morale?" "Dropping fast," Myra replied. "Reports from our intelligence network show soldiers are afraid to fight humans. They call us demons. Some units refuse to engage unless they have overwhelming numbers." Listen to them talk about breaking enemy morale and exploiting psychological weaknesses. This was not just war. This was science. Humans had turned combat into something they could predict and control. Arrived with news from the front lines. General's ground forces just took the mining colony on 4. They had 3 divisions defending it. Had 1. How asked. "The colony is on a high-gravity world," explained. 0.9 times standard gravity, but that is still heavy for most species. The troops could barely move in full combat gear. Human soldiers trained in 3 times that gravity. They ran circles around the defenders. A hologram appeared showing the battle. Human soldiers moved across terrain that should have exhausted them in minutes. They climbed cliffs, crossed rivers, and fought through conditions that would kill most species. They tried to hold their positions, but human soldiers just kept coming. One recording showed a human squad trapped by forces. The humans should have been destroyed. Instead, they fought through the night without rest, without support, until reinforcements arrived at dawn. All 6 human soldiers survived. "This is what I do not understand," said. "You train so hard. You push yourselves to the breaking point every single day. Why?" General's voice came from behind him. The general had entered quietly. He was older, with scars on his face and gray in his hair. "Because when the real fight comes, we need to be ready," said. "We train in hell so that war feels easy. We push ourselves to the breaking point so we know exactly where that point is. And when we reach it in combat, we know we can go further." He pulled up a new hologram. "Watch this." It showed a human medical station on the front lines. Wounded soldiers were being treated. What shocked was how fast they healed. A soldier who had been injured badly was back in combat 3 days later. An injury that would have ended most species' military careers was just a temporary setback for humans. "Our bodies can heal from almost anything," explained. "We can survive in conditions that kill others. We can go without sleep, without food, without water for longer than should be possible. Evolution made us this way. Training makes us better." Watched more battles unfold on the holographic maps. Every engagement showed the same pattern. Humans fighting smarter, faster, harder than the enemy. But he also saw something else. Humans protecting coalition soldiers, risking their lives to save species that had abandoned them centuries ago. "Why do you care so much?" asked quietly. "The coalition turned its back on you. Now you are dying to protect us. Why?" Captain Wu entered the war room. He had been listening. "Because we are not fighting for the people who failed us in the past," Wu said. "We are fighting for the people who need us now. Children who never made those old decisions. Families who just want to live in peace. That is worth fighting for." A priority alert flashed on the screens. Everyone turned to look. Major's face appeared. She was on a ship somewhere in the outer fringe, and she looked serious. "Command, we have confirmed intelligence. They are preparing something big at their home world of. Energy signatures match a doomsday-class weapon. If they activate it, it will destroy everything within 100 star systems." The room went silent. 100 star systems, billions of lives. Admiral appeared on another screen. "All fleet commanders, begin preparations for Operation Final Strike. We are taking the fight to the home world." Jin turned to, "This is it, the final battle, everything we have prepared for." "You are going to attack their home world," could not believe it. "That is suicide. They will have their entire fleet defending it." "Probably," Jin agreed. "But we cannot let them activate that weapon, so we will do what humans do best. We will fight even when the odds say we cannot win." "Made a decision. I want to fight with you." Everyone looked at him, stepped forward. "You are not trained for this. You could die." "Then I will die with the people who came to save my home," said firmly. "I am human too. You said so yourself. Time to find out what that really means." Major studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. "All right, you will come with my strike team, but you follow orders exactly. No questions, no hesitation. Understood?" "Understood," said. The human fleet began to gather. Not just the ships that had fought at Terminus Station. All of them. 12,000 warships forming into one massive armada, but they would not be going alone. Coalition fleets were joining them. Admiral brought his rebuilt forces. Other coalition worlds sent their ships. They had seen what humans could do. They wanted to fight beside them. Dr. Myra approached with a data pad. "I uploaded everything we know about psychology and tactics. Study this. It might save your life." "Thank you," said. Myra smiled sadly. 300 years ago, humans tried to save the galaxy through words and warnings. Nobody listened. Now we will save it the hard way, through sacrifice and blood. I hope the galaxy remembers this. I hope they remember that humans bled for them. Looked at the fleet gathering outside Earth. Thousands of ships. Millions of human soldiers preparing for a battle that might kill them all. He thought about the myths he had read in the archives. Stories of monsters from. The stories were wrong. Humans were not monsters. They were something more frightening. They were survivors who refused to let others suffer alone. They were warriors who turned their pain into strength. They were protectors who would die to save people they barely knew. We will remember, promised. Even if I am the only one left alive, I will make sure the galaxy remembers what humanity did. Captain Wu put a hand on his shoulder. Then make sure you survive. Someone needs to tell our story. The fleet began to move. Destination, the home world. Admiral's final message went out to every human ship. This is what we trained for. This is why we prepared, wanted to destroy the galaxy. We will show them what happens when you threaten humanity's allies. We will show them why Earth spent 300 years building the greatest military force in galactic history, not for conquest, not for glory, but for this moment, to stand between innocent lives and destruction. All ships engage faster than light drives. We are going to war. The human fleet jumped, 12,000 ships carrying the hopes of 1 billion worlds. And in the war room began his training, learning to fight like a human, learning to never give up, learning what his species was truly capable of. The final battle was coming, and humanity was ready. The home world hung in space like a dark jewel. 3 moons orbited it, each one converted into a weapons platform. The planet itself was heavily defended with shields, satellites, and enough firepower to destroy 1,000 fleets. Stood on the bridge of Major's assault ship, watching the tactical display. They had gathered every vessel they had. Over 100,000 warships surrounded their home world. It was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the system's edge. 12,000 ships against 100,000. The numbers were worse than Terminus Station. Admiral's voice came through on all channels. Dominion, this is your final warning. Surrender the doomsday weapon. Power down your fleets. This is your only chance for peace. Overlord's response came quickly. His voice was filled with hate. You think you can threaten us at our own home world? You are outnumbered 10 to 1. We will crush you, and then we will find Earth and burn it to ashes. There will be no mercy for humanity. So be it, Admiral said quietly. All ships, battle stations. Remember your training, remember why we fight. Today we show the galaxy that evil does not get to win just because it has bigger numbers. The fleet surged forward like a dark wave. Human ships moved to meet them, splitting into smaller groups just like at Terminus Station. But this time they were ready. They had studied the human tactics. They spread out, refused to cluster together, tried to counter every move. The first exchanges of fire lit up space. Human weapons punched through shields, but they had improved their defenses. They were learning, adapting. This is going to be harder than we thought, Captain Wu said from his ship. Good, Admiral replied. Easy victories teach nothing. Show them what humans do when the fight gets hard. The battle became brutal. Human ships took damage. Coalition vessels fighting alongside them were destroyed. They pressed their advantage, using their numbers to surround and overwhelm isolated human groups. Fighter Squadron was pinned down by interceptors. Reaper to all fighters, they have got us boxed in. Recommend we try the Maelstrom maneuver. That is a training exercise, another pilot said. Nobody has done it in real combat. Then we will be the first, said. On my mark 3, 2, 1, execute. The human fighters suddenly turned toward each other, flying on a collision course. The pilots followed, thinking they had trapped the humans. At the last second, the human fighters pulled up, down, left, and right in a perfect coordinated spin. The fighters crashed into each other. Squadron emerged from the chaos and struck at the capital ships while their fighter screen was destroyed. That is why we practice the impossible, laughed over the comms. On the ground team's assault ship, Major was preparing her Marines for the hardest mission of all. They had to board the facility where the doomsday weapon was being built and destroy it from the inside. Listen up, said to her team, was among them wearing human combat armor that felt too heavy and too light at the same time. The weapon is deep inside's capital city. We will drop in through the planetary defenses. It will be rough. Some of us will not make it." She looked at each soldier in turn. "But those who do make it will finish this war. We will save billions of lives. That is worth any sacrifice." Checked his weapon for the 10th time. Dr. Myra had given him a crash course in human combat tactics over the past week. She had also told him something important. "Your ancestors were from Earth," Myra had said. "You carry human genetics. Your body knows how to fight even if your mind has forgotten. Trust your instincts." Now, preparing to drop into hell, hoped she was right. The assault ship broke through the orbital defenses, taking heavy fire. Explosions rocked the vessel. Alarms screamed, but the human pilot kept them on course. 30 seconds to drop zone," the pilot announced. Major stood by the drop pods. "Remember, we are not just fighting for ourselves. We are fighting for every species that cannot fight back. We are fighting so that children across the galaxy can grow up without fear. That is humanity's purpose. That is why we exist." The drop pods launched, felt his stomach drop as they fell toward the planet. The pod shook violently. He could hear impacts on the hull, then they crashed. The pod door exploded open, stumbled out into chaos. They had landed in the middle of a military complex. Enemy soldiers were everywhere. Laser fire filled the air. Explosions shook the ground. Straining took over. He moved without thinking, following Major and the other Marines. They fought through corridors and courtyards. They were bigger and stronger, but the humans were faster and smarter. They used the environment, worked as a perfect team, and never stopped moving forward. Found himself in close combat with a soldier. The creature was twice his size with natural claws. It should have killed him easily, but remembered what Dr. Myra said. He trusted his instincts. He ducked under a claw swipe, struck at a weak point in the armor, and moved on before they even fell. "I will be damned," he whispered. "It works." "Keep moving," shouted. "The weapon facility is 2 blocks ahead." They ran through a city at war. Above them, the space battle raged. Human ships were holding the line, but barely. Every minute the ground team delayed was another minute of ships dying. They reached the weapon facility. It was massive, built deep underground with layers of security. Major placed charges on the main door. "This will be loud," she said. Then she triggered the explosion. They rushed inside. Scientists and guards scrambled. The humans cut through them with practiced efficiency. Every human on this mission knew they might die here, and that made them more dangerous than any weapon. And reached the central chamber. The doomsday weapon hung in the center, a sphere of dark energy contained by powerful fields. Dr. Myra's intelligence had been right. It was designed to destroy all unsuitable species, which meant humans and most of the coalition races. "Setting charges now," said, working fast. "Guard the door, nothing gets through." Overlord appeared on it. He had been watching them. "You are too late. The weapon is already charging. In 10 minutes it will fire. Your fleet will be destroyed. Your worlds will burn. Humanity's interference ends today." "We will see about that," said calmly. She continued setting her charges. Heard sounds from the corridor. Reinforcements were coming. Lots of them. "Major, we have company." "How many?" asked, not looking up from her work. "Too many." "Then you know what to do. Hold the line." Took position at the door. He thought about everything he had learned, about humanity's refusal to give up, about fighting even when victory seemed impossible, about protecting others no matter the cost. The soldiers charged, opened fire. In space, Admiral watched the battle with growing concern. They were holding, but just barely. Losses were mounting. Then he received a transmission from Admiral. The weapon is rigged to explode, but someone needs to stay behind to trigger it manually. The jammed are remote detonators." Closed his eyes for a moment. "Understood. Complete your mission, Major. You have served humanity with honor." "It has been a privilege, sir," replied. Was still fighting at the door. He had taken several hits but kept going. Human armor and human genetics kept him alive, but he was getting tired. Finished setting the charges, she walked to where was fighting. "Go, get out of here. I will trigger the explosion." "No," said, "I am staying." "That is not your choice," said firmly. "Yes, it is," replied. "You taught me what it means to be human. Now let me prove I learned the lesson. You have more experience. The fleet needs you. I am just an intelligence officer who learned to fight last week." Stared at him, then she smiled. "You are more than that. You are a human who remembered his heritage. The galaxy needs more people like you." She placed a hand on his shoulder. "Tell them about us. Tell them what we did here." "I will," promised. "I swear it." Gave him her weapon. "Then go. And remember, we do not fight because we hate what is in front of us. We fight because we love what is behind us." Ran. Explosions followed him as soldiers tried to stop him. He made it outside just as the building erupted in a massive fireball. The doomsday weapon's energy, released all at once, created a shockwave that destroyed everything for miles. Major was gone, but so was the weapon. In space, Admiral saw the explosion on the planet's surface. He opened a channel to all ships. "The weapon is destroyed. Major has completed her mission. Now we finish this fight in her honor. All ships full offensive. Show them what happens when you threaten humanity." The human fleet surged forward with renewed fury. They fought with everything they had. No holding back. No mercy for an enemy that had tried to commit genocide. The lines broke. Despite their numbers, despite their home world advantage, they could not stand against humanity's rage and determination. Ships began to surrender. Others fled. Overlord watched his empire fall apart. His massive command ship was surrounded by human vessels. He had one choice left. "I surrender," he transmitted. "Cease fire, I surrender." The human fleet stopped shooting. Admiral's ship moved alongside the command vessel. "Overlord, this is Admiral. You will be taken into custody and face trial for your crimes against the galaxy." Appeared on the, for the first time he looked small and defeated. "I do not understand you. We had you outnumbered. We should have won." "Numbers are not everything," said. "You fought because you wanted to rule. We fought because we had to protect. That makes all the difference." The war was over. 5 years later stood at a memorial on Earth. It listed the names of every human who died in the war. Major's name was there, along with thousands of others. The galaxy had changed. The Dominion was broken up. A new galactic coalition was formed with humans as founding members. Peace treaties were signed. Reparations were paid. Captain Wu, now Admiral Wu, ran the Combined Defense Initiative. He trained soldiers from every species in human tactics, not to make them into humans but to teach them the human spirit. Never give up. Protect the weak. Fight for what is right. Had published her book. The true history of humanity was now known across the galaxy. Schools taught about the species from Earth who saved everyone. Served as humanity's ambassador. He traveled to every world telling stories about what he witnessed, about Major's sacrifice, about the fleet that fought impossible odds, about the species that refused to let others suffer alone. Now an admiral in command of the exploration fleet was searching for lost human colonies across the galaxy, bringing humanity back together. Looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, human ships were patrolling, making sure no one ever threatened the galaxy again. They were not conquerors. They were guardians. "They thought we were myths," said quietly to who stood beside him. "We were," replied. "The best kind of myth, the kind that becomes real when people need it most." A group of young students approached. They were from different species, all attending the Human Military Academy. They looked at with respect. "Ambassador," one asked, "is it true? Did you really fight alongside Major?" "I did," said. "What was she like?" Smiled. "She was brave. She was strong. She was everything a human should be, and she taught me that strength is not about how hard you can hit. It is about how many times you can get hit and keep moving forward. That is humanity's real power. The students left, talking excitedly about joining the defense fleet. You know, the myth said humans were scary, dangerous from a. They were right, said. Humans are all of those things, but they are also protectors, friends, heroes. The galaxy is lucky they exist. Above Earth, colony ships launched. Human ships heading out to find their lost brothers and sisters among the stars, to reunite humanity after 300 years of separation. Admiral Wu watched them go from the orbital defense station. He thought about everything humanity had accomplished, the war they won, the lives they saved, the peace they secured. "We did it," Captain Wu said to him. "We did," Admiral Wu agreed. "But our work is not finished. The galaxy still needs protecting, and humanity will always answer that call." He looked at the memorial hologram floating beside him, all the names of the fallen. We fight so others do not have to. We sacrifice so others can live in peace. That is not a myth. That is who we are. The stars shone bright over Earth, and humanity, the species that everyone thought was just a legend, stood ready to protect them all. They imagined humans were myths. Then we stormed into combat, and we showed the galaxy what it truly means to be human.